Join us in the Bear Den, a real-life, real-love podcast celebrating the joys and challenges of parenting, family dynamics, and unconditional love.
Welcome to another episode of the Bear Den podcast. Today, I have a beautiful guest in the studio. Her name is Miss Talia Hudson. Yay! Welcome in.
Well, thank you.
This is your first podcast.
Yes.
Little nervous?
A little nervous.
It's gonna be fine. What could go wrong?
Right.
Just millions of people listening, watching you online.
Oh, shoot.
It's gonna be beautiful. So we were just talking off camera and off air about your story and the whole reason why I wanted you here. Because I personally don't know your story.
All right.
I found out a nugget of your story not that long ago, and it blew my mind. And I was like, I have to have you in here. So actually, it was Andrea that wanted me to have you on because she knows your story and she wanted you to share. So I'm new to this. I have no idea about anything. So I'm just going to lean into just asking some questions and just hearing your answers. So obviously you're married to Bracken.
Married to Bracken.
Love.
18 years.
How long?
18.
Wow. How did you guys meet?
So I started working at a salon. I do hair. I've done hair for 27 years. His sister owned a salon, actually here in Orem. And I started working there. And it's kind of funny because I had just kind of gotten out of a relationship and I did not want to date anybody. And Bracken would come into the salon actually all the time, a little too much.
Of course.
And I knew what he was doing, right? He was coming to check out the girls because he's like, who in here am I going to date, right? So he was always bringing his sister lunch. And I thought, what brother brings his sister lunch that many times a week? Like, doesn't he have a job? Like, what's he doing, right? And so then his sister's like, hey, 2 months later, after I'd started working there, she's like, we're having a salon Christmas party. You should bring my brother. I'm like, I don't want to take your brother. She's like, no, you should bring my brother to the salon Christmas party. You don't want to come alone. I go, actually, I do want to go alone. Like, I just got out of a relationship for a long time and I just need a break. I just need to find out who I am. And like, I don't want to get back into another relationship. And she's like, she hounded me for weeks. Like, please just take my brother. He knows everybody. Like, take my brother. And Bracken called into the salon one day. And Bracken's very sarcastic. He's very funny. He's a jokester, if you know him, right? Yeah. And so he called in the salon one day and said, can I talk to Sasha? And I answered the phone. I was like, yeah, can I tell her who's calling? Her brother. Well, his sister just got done telling me how many brothers she had. And yes, they're like step brothers, half brothers, but she was telling me all of them. And I'm like, oh, which brother? And he goes, her only brother. And I was like, ooh, he's a snot. Like, I was like, what a brat. Like, I definitely don't want to take him to the salon Christmas party. Anyway, she wouldn't let it go. So finally I'm like, fine, I'll take your brother to the stupid salon Christmas party. So I took him out. I went and picked him up on the date and took him. We went and had dinner and I took him right home, which he was like, not going to have because he's like, 2 hours later, you take me home on this date. I said, I told you I didn't want to date anybody.
This is so good.
So he called me 2 days later and said, like, you're not just going to drop me off after 2 days. I'm going to take you on a date.
Really?
So he did. So he took me. He did. He called me up. We went on a date. Well, let me tell you what happened on that date. He almost killed me for one. It was Christmas time. He was taking me to this down in Provo River. They had this like Christmas on the river thing. Well, for some reason we got like going there and he was going the wrong way on the overpass. Like literally almost like head-on collision. I don't know.
You married this
I know,
guy?
right. Well, it did take us 4.5 years to get there. So anyway, that was good. And literally from that time on, I mean, we just dated. I mean, off and on for 4.5 years. And I mean, it took him a while. We both come from divorced parents and divorced families.
Okay.
And me especially, I not to get into my family because that's a whole nother podcast, but I kind of saw a really horrible marriage with my parents. My dad was a very unkind person and not nice to my mother at all. And I'm like, I don't want to be married if that's what I'm going to go into. Right. And so I think it took Bracken and I a long time because we didn't want to have what our parents had. Mm-hmm. And we really wanted to make sure we were solid. And so we did. And that's not the norm for Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 28 when we got married.
Oh, wow.
Bracken was 27. We even went and did counseling before we got married, which actually I think should be a requirement to get a marriage license anywhere. I think it is the best advice. Go do 6 weeks of pre-marriage counseling before you get married. Because I think that helped us so much. We actually got engaged during that process.
Really?
Which is which helped us so much.
What was some of like the big takeaways that you got from it? Because I think that's a fantastic idea.
It really is. I really do think. I think there would be so many less divorces and problems. I mean, I get divorced. It has all of its reasons, and it's okay, but for the right reasons. But I feel like communication for us, and him just understanding. Like, I was so afraid I was going to marry someone like my dad, and I just needed to know he wasn't that person. And even though I dated him for a long time, I think going to counseling and kind of having those tools, and then when we had little things and we knew how to work through those. And so I just think it just gave us a good foundation before we got married. And like I said, we got engaged during those counseling, sessions, which was huge for us. So that's
actually not a terrible idea.
It's not. I really
6 weeks of counseling to set you up for a lifetime of being with somebody,
right?
Isn't terrible.
No, I don't.
And
think
people
so.
use counseling, before they're going to get divorced or if they're having a problem. Like, well,
before you have the problem, right?
Shit's already hit the fan by that point. Like,
right,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. So why not go and try and figure those things out before it's bad? Why it's good, right? Like, I mean, I think maybe it's even good. Like, I'm not against counseling at all. Like, even if your marriage is good, just to keep those things, those communication things, and make sure you're doing those things.
Yeah,
doesn't hurt. So,
well, it's obviously a testament. You've been married 18 years.
Yeah.
And you've been together 22.
Yeah,
on and off.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, for sure.
Good for you guys.
Yeah, and I think that we're more in love and things are better now. I mean, even than in the beginning. Like, I think we have a solid relationship.
Well, you've seasoned with each other. You've gone through trials and tribulations. You've grown. You've seasoned, and and right from the get go, you set the expectation of your marriage. Like, we're going to do whatever it takes to make this work.
Yeah, we're not going to end up like our parents. We don't want to be divorced. We'll do whatever we need to do to stay together and make it work. Which I don't think has been hard for us. Like, I think we were meant to be. So,
well, and I'm assuming, like, too, in counseling, like, both of you are able to verbalize the expectations that you expect of each other, what you think a marriage should look like,
right?
Because that's a lot of the times the things that two people get married, they don't necessarily talk about what a marriage will look like. They talk about the happy ever after, the dream, the kids, the house, the that. Yeah. But like the actual day-to-day running of a household, who's paying the bills, who does the finances, who does this, who does that. Like, not many people figure that out. Right. And that's where a lot of the arguments come from in a relationship is like, well, I'm the one that's always doing this, or I'm the one, there's a lot of expectations that are just naturally set that aren't discussed. So I think that's fantastic. Yeah. So there you go, people, go get marriage counseling before you get married. I
mean, we talked about our fears and I mean, just those things. Cause I think and I think it's because we were a little older, we weren't, and the norm in Utah is very young. Yeah. And I think because what's
the age roughly?
I mean, people 19, 20, 21 here. I mean, that's young. Yeah. So, I mean, people were always like, when are you two ever going to get married? So, I mean, I know people were like, what's wrong with them? Or why aren't you married yet? And I'm like, it's okay. It's different for everybody. And when it's right for you, it's right. And I don't think it needs to be rushed either. Right. So we talked about our fears. We talked about the things that scared us about being married. And I don't think you do that when you're 19 and 20 because you're just so in love and you're so blinded by, you don't even know what the future, you're just going into marriage.
You're 19,
blindly.
You haven't even figured out life
right. You don't even know who
yet.
you are,
Exactly.
right? Like, so I think that was huge for us. And I get that's not for everybody, but it's worked for us, right?
I honestly, I think a lot of people, if they were to actually do that, would have stand a better chance or have a much more in-depth marriage. So I think that's a fantastic idea. Okay. Talia for president, put that on federal law. Everybody needs to do marriage counseling before they get married.
There you go, right?
So you got married 18 years ago. When you were in the marriage counseling, and I don't really want to call it counseling because at that point it's not counseling. It's just
really wasn't right.
Marriage chats.
You're right. There you go. I like that.
Did you talk in that time of the family that you and Bracken wanted, and did you come in with different expectations? Like Bracken wants 2 kids, you want 5. Where's the middle ground? Did you kind of set those tones during the conversation?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, even while we dated, I mean, I've kind of had this joke like, well, you have to have an even number. Because everybody has to have a partner at Disneyland, right? Like you can't so that's huge to me. So
the third child's just holding all the bags while everybody else is riding the rides.
Exactly. Like, sorry, like we'll get you that 4th child soon, I promise. Whatever. But I mean, truly like that. So I think that was like kind of always the joke. I mean, I think we both knew we loved kids and we wanted like Bracken. I mean, he's the ultimate uncle. Like he was up to that point. Like He's
still a big kid.
I mean, he is. And he is loved by his nieces and nephews, right? I mean, and when we were dating, his oldest niece was just turned 1. And so even like she was a big part of our life. Like she would come over because we were the fun aunt and uncle and have sleepovers and make cookies before we even had kids. Even when we were dating, like she would just come hang out with us. And so we just always loved kids and he loved kids. So, I mean, we just knew we wanted a lot, but we also knew, like, that was also my big joke is like, you better marry me. Like, and then those 4.5 years, I was always like, okay, we either need to get married or we need to move on. I'm getting older and I do want to have babies, right? Like, so let's get on with this. Like, so there was some of that too.
Here, Hudson.
Right? Like which turned out to be truth because, we did get married at 28 and we didn't like try right away, but we knew we wanted to start because we were older and we did want more than 1 or 2 kids. And so we did start and we did struggle and it was hard. I mean, I lost, just to get right into it, we got pregnant with our first one. I miscarried the child at 12 weeks.
Wow.
So that was hard. Because I mean, I'm getting older and I'm like, oh my gosh, there was times where I thought, am I ever going to get to be a mom? And so we lost the first one and then I got pregnant again. And this one was a tubal and ectopic pregnancy, which was very scary. It actually erupted. I ended up in the hospital, blood transfusions. Like I actually, on the way to the hospital, I was telling Bracken my goodbyes. Like I thought I was literally dying and told him, I love you. You're young. Like, you should get remarried. You should have a family. Like I literally, like, of course he's like, shut up. You're not dying. I'm not going to let you die. I mean, but it was traumatic. Like it was like here, our second pregnancy, we've just lost it again. Like now I've read all about.
And how old are you at this point?
I was 29 at this point.
Wow, so still really young.
You're still young, right? But getting older too for having babies. And so that was scary. And so I thought maybe I'm never going to get to have a baby. And after that one, I mean, a huge blessing, but Bracken left for China. I was in the hospital for a few days. He was doing work in China and importing stuff. He'd gone to China. He came back and I don't know, but I got pregnant a third time, like a miracle, because it hadn't even been a month since I went through this traumatic stuff with my body.
This is after Bracken got back?
This is after he got back.
All the green tea he was drinking.
It was something good, right?
Came back more natural.
Exactly. So whatever, it worked. So, and it hadn't even been a full month since I had just lost the second baby. So I thought, oh no. But then you get pregnant and you're like, you're just terrified. What if I lose this one too, right? Like, I'm just like...
Is that what you were thinking?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all the time?
Yeah. Like, and so, the first one we're excited. We tell everybody we're pregnant. The second one, actually, it was very hard. It was around Christmas time. I walked into a Christmas family party. My cousin comes running up telling that she just found out she was pregnant. And also in the same time, Bracken's little sister found out she was pregnant. And her situation was really rough. She's addicted to drugs. She's not married. And I'm thinking... okay, why can't I have a baby, right? So all these things are going through my head of, we love each other. We just want a baby so bad. Why can't we have a baby, right? So you go through this spiral of all these emotions and it's hard. I mean, mentally and physically and, we just want a baby. Why can't we just have a baby? These kids are getting babies that don't really want babies, but, why can't we have a baby? Yeah. So there was a lot of that and just scared. So now I'm pregnant with the third baby. Am I going to keep it? Well, we did. And it was beautiful, right? Like just like we got our Skylar, who is turning 16 in 2 months. Like, so,
she's your miracle. She's your miracle.
She really was like, I'll get chills. Like I'll get teary eyed because it like so much that we went through to get her. And finally we like got her. Right. Yeah. So that was beautiful and happy. And luckily we got pregnant with the next one really fast. I mean, we were like, let's try and do a year.
Like, I'm on a roll.
Right. We're going to get this done. We're going to get this done, So we did. So then we, exactly, less than 2 years later, we had our Sage who just turned 14. And then, we're like, okay, we're just going to, wait a year. We're going to get pregnant. We're just going to keep our kids coming, keep this road coming. We finally, I don't know what we figured out, but then I had another miscarriage after my Sage. So two miscarriages, 2 kids, and then a miscarriage.
Wow.
So that's hard again. Another emotion of just like, oh.
And you're also a little older.
I'm older
4
now, right? Yeah.
Older,
so we finally got Skylar when I was 30. Sage was at 32. And then, at the year mark, we start trying again. So now I'm 33, like hoping to have when we miscarriage again. And then it takes a while. Like I'm going to the doctors, we're trying to figure out why we can't have a baby, all these things. And that was a fluky thing because they're 3 years apart. Sage and then our Lincoln. And so I did finally get pregnant. The doctor put me on birth control, which I was so mad about because I'm like, I don't want to be on birth control. I want to have a baby. But that was what I needed because it needed to regulate my body, whatever. I got pregnant while I was on birth control, which is crazy too. So that is not like 100% proof thing, people. So be careful.
It's not FDA approved.
That's right.
Holy moly.
So be careful.
Wow.
So
but isn't that just crazy?
It is crazy.
You try for a baby, you fail twice.
Yeah.
You get 2, you try again, you fail. And then when you're not even trying because you're waiting for your body to regulate and get back into its natural state again, it's like, poof.
Yes.
It's like, okay, can somebody just tell me what's going on here, right? It's
right. And when you're living it, you're kind of mad, you're kind of upset, you don't understand it. But now when I look back, I mean, truly, I am a woman of faith. And I believe God put those babies, they came into my life when they were supposed to. I had to go through losing. I had to, go through all these things. And because too, it's taught me, I do hair. I talk to women all day long. And I feel like, we have to go through these hard things to have empathy and I have so much empathy, and where I probably didn't understand miscarriages and losing children. I didn't understand that. Like my mom had a stillborn before I was even born. And I thought that was like, I can't even imagine carrying a baby full term and miscarriages. I'm sure I didn't carry them as long, but still you having a baby and losing it, like you are like, that's your child. Like, I don't care.
It's part of you.
You are like planning on that baby. That is your baby. And when you lose them, that is just heart-wrenching. That's just, I don't know how to even describe it, but I understand that now for other women.
So what was the gift that you got out of the miscarriages, would you say?
Just
because there has to be a lesson of sorts, or maybe there isn't. I don't know.
I think it's just having empathy and love and really appreciating the children that I've got. Like even after having like Lincoln, like because then we got him and then we kept trying and trying and trying.
Because you needed 4.
I needed 4. I didn't have my and I know this sounds weird, but I knew we were supposed to have a 4th, and I knew it was supposed to be a boy. That is I feel like I'm a very intuitive person, and I have this intuition, and I just knew we were supposed to have another boy, and he wasn't coming, and that was hard. Yeah. And I finally we finally got to the point where, because I had gone back again to the doctor. Why am I not having? Of course, they're telling me, well, now you're getting older. Like now
you give me more birth control? It worked last time.
yeah, right, right. And I think you kind of even tried that. I'm like, no, like it was kind of like, well, if you really do want more, we probably need to start looking at IVF and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I am now, 38, 37. Like I'm like, okay, now, what? I had to pray about this. I had to think about this, and it was really like, you know what? We just have to be content with the 3 we have. We have there are blessings. Like every single one of them has been a gift from God to us, and they come to us when they were supposed to, and we have to be okay with that. And we just it was time to, because it's an emotional roller coaster, right? Trying to have babies, and you're just like, why can't I just have babies? And so because I want them, right? And that's how it works.
You also need to, look at where your life is when you have kids.
Yeah.
Like you said, some people just have them out of, and like they're on birth control, and next thing you know, they're pregnant.
Yeah, right.
We didn't plan this, but oh shit, we're going to make it work.
Right.
But, there's also some people turn around and say, well, we have this window before our careers take off, or before we start our career path, that we want to have kids.
Right.
We want to get the kids to a certain age before we really dive into our career, so then they're sustainable whilst we're in career mode.
Right.
So it is like a giant game of chess where you fit these children in.
Right.
And if you've been trying for like 2.5 years and don't have a child, and then you have one, it's a case of, well, that didn't happen in the window we're in, but we're still good. We can make it work.
Yeah. Right.
And then when you have one, kind of off the cuff with on birth control, you're like, that wasn't in the plan.
Right.
But we'll make it work.
But we'll take it. Well, we were grateful for every single one of those, right? I just remember, because I'd actually had a really bad kidney infection, and I'm like, I'm just not getting better. And the doctor's like, have you taken a pregnancy test? I'm like, I'm not pregnant. I have been on birth control. I've had this kidney. She's you've been on 2 really strong. This is why, because I've been on 2 really strong antibiotics, which cancel out the birth control.
Gotcha.
That's how I got pregnant. So, so it was like, but that was a blessing. Like that kidney infection was a blessing that for my body, because if I wouldn't have been on those, antibiotics, maybe it wouldn't have counteracted the birth control, and I wouldn't have got pregnant. Right. So I feel like every little thing, even if it was hard, there was a blessing always that came after it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's in life. Every trial, if you just wait, God will always give you the big blessing. And I've seen that every time in my life when there's been something hard.
Yeah.
There's always been something very beautiful at the end of it. And so when we decided, I think we finally came to, and I think this is also the beauty of it, because I also think God waits for us to, he's not just going to give us everything. He has to kind of wait for us to say, okay, I'm okay with this. I'm going to be okay with this. Right. And so we decided, you know what? We have 3 beautiful children that have been such beautiful gifts in our life. And Bracken got his boy, which is actually, I think that boys are actually for the mom. Boys are mama boys, like, and he's my boy, right?
Absolutely.
And the girls are like that with Bracken, like they love their daddy, right? It's so true, right?
Moms are like the dynamic with Andrew and our girls is like they get that beautiful motherly love, right?
Yes.
And they get to do makeup and the hair and all the girly things. But girls just need a little dad time.
They do,
They
and
want
that
to
is
snuggle
important.
in. They want to watch a movie. They like to roughhouse a little bit. Like Lily and Anna and I, we roughhouse and tickle and fight all the time. They kind of like that little tit for tat. You know, I'll walk through the kitchen and I'll be making something and I'll have a spoon in my hand and I'll just hit one of the kids on the head with the back of the spoon, and that's it. There's like a little war going on in the kitchen. They like that kind of healthy masculinity.
Oh, for sure.
It's a good thing.
Right.
And so much so with boys and their moms. It's good for boys to have that safe feminine energy and be loved and nurtured. And, I have a beautiful relationship with my mom and I have a great relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
My mom and I actually have more of a in-tune, funny kind of sense of humor between the two of us than I actually do with my dad. My mom and I will find the funniest things in the funniest things. Yeah, we generally laugh about my dad, which is what we connect over, which is probably why my dad gets so upset about it, because we're laughing at him. But you're absolutely right. Boys, they need they do. Mamas, and girls need dads. It's just it's so beautiful.
It is a beautiful thing. And so we were actually in the process of starting to build our new house in Highland. We were doing the plans, whatever. And so
before you get into that, did you share a question? Did you share, and I'm sorry to cut you off, did you share your story about the miscarriages and the births and the lengths you went to get the family you have now? Have you shared that with your kids? Do they know that story?
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. They all know. I mean, we're very open with our kids. We've which you're going to see in a minute, because when I tell you the next story, like I feel like it's important. I feel like our parents, my parents, and they just, back in the day, they just were not open about everything. Like everything was a secret. Everything was like hush, hush, hush. And I feel like that just is an injustice for us and our kids. And we're trying to do better, right, by our kids, and try and no, like they're going to know, like, why do we hide this? And it's better them hear it from us than from them to hear from, oh, well, I heard this. I mean, because I remember hearing that about my own parents, like hearing things like, oh, I heard this from so-and-so. Like, no, like, so I feel like we're very open with our children. We have been about so many things. I mean, we have so many different dynamics in both of our families. Bracken's got a gay brother, and some other things. We have a brother-in-law in prison, which I will share in a minute, because that has to do with the next thing. But so we just have different things, right? And so we've just always been honest with our kids, so they know everything. They there's no secrets.
And I think that's beautiful too, right? Yeah. And you're so right. Growing up, our parents didn't share stories of how either they got together or anything. They just didn't share that.
Yeah,
they didn't share down the knowledge that they had or the trials and tribulations they went through.
Right.
I think, and I see this a lot in our generation of us with our children and just being surrounded by great parents. The greatest of parents actually share their struggles and stories with the kids. Yeah. They bring them along in that family journey. Yeah. Of, for instance, our kids will ask questions, why Andrea's traveling for work, or why I'm, not there this weekend because I'm working, whatever. And once you explain what you do, and you explain the time that it takes, and you show them that, yes, I'm working this weekend, but I work these weekends so I can have this week off. Right. When you explain everything to children, they get it. They don't question that dad's not home this weekend or mom's away for a week. Yeah. They understand everything. Right. And I think that's really important. Now, you don't have to share, finances and bills. Right. But the story of how your family became your family. Right. And obviously there's a timing. Kids need to understand what a miscarriage is. And, absolutely. How do you even make babies, Mom? Oh, maybe this story's a little too soon. But sharing that, I think, is so beautiful, because it brings you together and it shows your kids, your eldest kids, like, Skylar, like you are a miracle baby, kiddo. Like
right.
You know, you potentially couldn't be here.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
But you're our miracle baby and you're here, right?
Yeah,
so that's so beautiful that you share that.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, you want me to get into our, so we
go
finally,
in. This is
so this is the big story, right? Like, so we do have 4 children, you know, but I only physically had 3 of them.
We're not counting Bracken as the 4th. I have seen him firsthand ride a unicorn down a snow hill.
He is sometimes, yes, my 5th child, but yeah, whatever. But we love him that way.
So you have a 4th.
We have a 4th.
Okay.
And so, and once again, I feel like every child we have has been a huge blessing. You know, they all are. And the 4th is no exception to that. And I feel like no child is a mistake. Doesn't matter how they come to you. It doesn't matter when they're born or who they're born to. I feel like they're supposed to be here and they're supposed to be where they're supposed to be, right? So Bracken has a sister, an older sister, and she has 3 children. And about 5 or 6 years ago, they went through some really hard stuff. My brother-in-law, her husband, their father, got arrested for child pornography. Wow. Big time. He is in prison still, and he got sentenced, I think, to about 14 years. So he's still currently there.
Okay.
And when that happened, it completely turned their life upside down. I mean, they had no idea. And he was involved in a big ring in Utah.
Wow.
And pretty big deal. Federal charges because it went through federal, different
Mrs.
states.
Bracken's sister's husband. So Bracken's brother-in-law.
And I mean, it's crazy. When it happened, we were all like, she called and like the FBI's just tore down our door. They're in here with guns and blazing. And she's just like, and when they kind of told us that, we thought maybe it was like fraud, like financial fraud or something. He was in title loans. We thought, no way is it. We were shocked by the fact that it was pornography and child pornography.
Wow.
Turn their lives upside down. Dad gets carried away, and Bracken, being the amazing brother and person he is, I mean, of course, he stepped right in and trying to help his sister and this family. I mean, because literally, like she didn't even work. He was the breadwinner. She now has to go back to work. She needs to all this stuff, right? And Hallie, the oldest, and Hallie, let me tell you a little bit about Hallie. Hallie is this niece that I told you in the very beginning, where she was 1 when I started dating Bracken. Gotcha. And Bracken and her have always had this really solid, beautiful relationship, right? And when we got married, she'd come have sleepovers with us, and we kind of like got to this point where we called her our weekend daughter. Because even after we had our children, she just loved to spend time. Was she the
kind of kid like, we can test if we actually need to be or want to be parents with
right?
this kid?
And she was the perfect one, right? Like that. She was adorable and cute, and she loved us. She loved being around us. And so, I mean, throughout her teen years, she would come and still wanted to come and hang out with us, right? And have sleepovers. She'd go on trips with us. Like, she just was really like our weekend child, like, and her parents were kind of doing their thing, whatever. And obviously Dad was doing his thing. And so I think she just felt safe with us and felt comfortable with us, and just really loved us. And after all this happened with her dad, she, obviously she felt kind of in a depression. She had a boyfriend at the time. She was a cheerleader, the adorable cheerleader, and she was dating the football star and that story, right? And so I think just because of everything that happened with her dad, these kids go looking for love, and
just rocks their world.
Right. It totally does. Yeah. And it totally did. So she ultimately got pregnant at 17.
Wow.
And we didn't know this at the beginning. She'd come on actually 2 trips with us. We had gone down to Moab for spring break. And I noticed on that trip, I said, I was really worried about her because obviously she's just had all this happened. Dad's now going to prison. Mm-hmm. She even had to go and go and talk against him, right?
It's not easy.
That's not easy. Can you imagine that? And so I was worried about her, and I said, she didn't want to come do any of the hikes with us. And I said to Bracken, I'm really worried. We have to make her. Like, I don't want her just staying in the trailer by herself. Like, I'm really worried about her. I can tell she's super depressed. We just need to kind of make her come. And she was just like, no, I'm just too tired. I want to stay. And so we kind of let her, but we just kind of kept checking on her, just really worried about her. And then we'd gone on another trip a couple months later down to St. George. And again, she was sleeping a lot. And, but I kind of noticed that time, like, she's kind of getting a little bit of a belly, and still she hadn't told anybody or told us anything, whatever. And Then a couple months later, it was actually the 4th of July. We were having like a family dinner, and she came, she said, "Hey, I need to talk to you and Bracken. Can we talk after dinner?" And we're like, "Of course, sure." Right. And I mean, we kind of felt like we were her second parents. So we were there for her. We loved her. And
well, it's probably easier for her to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because of what she's just gone through with her own parents.
Right.
You
And
know,
her and her mom were close. I mean, so I'm glad she had her mom, right. But yeah, I think so,
you were
right?
You were a safe outside source that she could lean into.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think she looked at Bracken as, now I've lost my dad. You're my dad figure, right? And someone she really looked up to, like her whole life. And so she sat us down, and we had no idea what was even coming our way. And she goes, "Well, I just want to tell you guys I'm pregnant." And we were like, "Okay." And she goes, "I'm 6 months pregnant." We're like, I mean, she's a tiny girl, right? She's tall, super skinny. I mean, like I said, I kind of could tell that there was a little bump, but I didn't know. And she's like, "I'm pregnant and I'm actually 6 months." And she goes, I've decided that I know that I am not ready to be a mom. And so I've decided I'm going to give the baby up for adoption. And before she even said anything else, I'm like, "Well, we'll take him, right?" Like, I mean, I didn't say him. I said, "We'll take this baby, right?" Like it just flew. I didn't even think about it. I kind of looked over at Bracken, like, "You're okay with that, right?" Like, I was just like, it just automatically flew out of my mouth. And she goes, "Well, yeah, that's why I'm here. I wanted to ask you guys if you would be willing to take this baby and raise him." And of course, I just started crying.
God, you got me too.
I know, right? Like, it's
holy
just,
cow.
like, first of all, just the honor that she loves and respects us enough that she is asking us to take this baby and raise him, right? Like, and just knowing that this will complete my family. This is the answer. This is the answer to those prayers that I knew I was supposed to have another baby boy.
This is why you weren't given a fourth.
Yeah, right.
Because
this is why
you were being prepared, ready for this
baby.
Wow.
And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, yes, and that's when she said, "And I already know it's a boy." And she said that after I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is meant to be. Like, this is my baby." And I knew right at that moment, it is the weirdest thing, and I don't know how to explain it, but something switched to my heart at that very moment. I already loved this baby. I didn't know. I wasn't carrying this baby.
Yeah.
I loved this baby, and I knew he was mine.
Well, because you loved the mother.
I do, right?
Like nothing else.
Right. And we do, right?
She was almost like your fifth kid.
Exactly.
Or your first, whichever way you want to look at it.
Right. And so it was just this beautiful, amazing experience. Like, I can't even, instantly. And I know that people are like, I've had people ask this. I mean, do you think you can love a baby that you're not I'm like, no, there's no question. Like, I loved 100%. This baby before this baby was even born. Like, I knew I loved this baby. Like, I don't know how to explain that to you, but it was so meant to be. And I know that that's weird because you're like, I feel like no child is a mistake. And I not necessarily want my 17-year-old niece to have to go through what she went through to have this baby, but it was all meant to be, right? Like, even the fact that her dad, which is a horrible, horrible thing, and he's right where he should be in prison. I mean, that's where he needs to be. But everything that led up to that, all those bad things led up to this beautiful blessing of this baby coming here to our family.
Yeah.
And so there were some scary things. Right off the bat, they were doing some testing because they actually thought that maybe he was Down syndrome or there was something. And Bracken and I, at that very moment, there was no even question. We went with her to that appointment to go get it all checked. And Bracken and I had talked about that before. We're like, it doesn't change anything for us. If this baby is born handicapped, if this baby has any kind of problems, it doesn't matter. He's our baby. And just if I was going to give birth to him, he's our child, and we will take care of him however he comes. And so we kind of went through a few emotional things like that, but it didn't matter. And everything worked out fine. Nothing was wrong with him. But so we were there the day he was, she called us at 3 a.m. So after that, we started going to doctor's appointments. I was very much involved. I was like the mom, and she included me in all that, which I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of all that. And so we did everything. But I should go back to tell you when we told our children. So I was
going to ask that. Like, how did the kids take this?
So this was crazy. So
first of all, you kind of blurted out, "We'll take it."
Yeah.
What was Bracken's reaction? Was he like a second behind saying the same thing?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%. He was totally on board. So you have to understand, she told us July 4th. Okay. We do Country Fan Fest. So it was the month of Country Fan Fest. And at that time, things were a little bit more stressful with Country Fan Fest because we didn't have it fine tuned. We were only 3 or 4 years in, not 9 years in, right? So it was a stressful month for Bracken. So really he was like, okay, we're doing this, but he goes, but let's get through Country Fan Fest.
Totally a Bracken thing to do. Can we pause the pregnancy? Let me get this done, and then we'll circle back to it.
Because then, and I do. This is Bracken. This is, and he is so logical, and which is so good for me because he kind of keeps me in check, right?
Yeah.
But because he's like, let's get through this, and then let's all sit back together. I want to sit down with, Hallie, with her mom, with all the grandparents. Because everybody's going to have, this is a decision that we're making, but everybody has to be.
Whole family.
This is gonna change the dynamic.
It's his sister's granddaughter.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's his parents' great grandchild.
Yeah.
So it changes the dynamics. But everybody's got to be on board. Everybody's got to be on board that Talia and Bracken are the parents, and everybody's got to respect that, and everybody's got to be okay with how this is going to look in the family. And so that was a big conversation. We wanted everybody to be included in that and be a part of that, so that we had everybody's support, to be, we're not going to have everybody raising this child. Bracken, this is their child. They're going to be raising this child, and not everybody doesn't get to give their 2 cents. Right. So, and that we all want him to be loved, which we knew they would. This is a very loving family. Right. So we knew that was going to be fine. But so Bracken's like, okay, we're going to have this conversation a week after Country Fan Fest.
I love that guy.
Right. So, I mean, we knew, yes, we are definitely 100% taking this baby. But we'll have this conversation in a month. Right.
Yeah.
But then the medical things happen. So we ended up kind of dealing with that anyway before, but.
So how did your kids take it?
So,
because were they there that week? Were they there that weekend?
They were not. They were not there. They were, but they had been there, but they went away. And
Mom and Dad go away for 4th of July, come back with a baby.
Yeah, right.
Like, wow.
So we had this conversation without the kids sitting there. So then we decided, okay, we got to do this in a way with the kids. We were all going on a family trip with everyone, with Bracken's, brothers, sisters, mom. I mean, dad. Everybody was. We were taking the train and going to Colorado for the weekend. So. After Country Fan Fest. So we're like, we want to tell them before that trip so that our kids just know what's going on. Because all the adults knew now, but we need our kids to be in on this. And so I got a box and we had them come over, and Hallie came over and Bracken's sister Sasha came over, and my kids were kind of like, we have a big surprise we're going to share with you guys. And they were thinking it was kind of weird that we had Hallie and Sasha there, but we're like, we're going to have everybody there. And I had a box and I had some balloons in it. And I'm like, okay, here's your surprise. Open the box. And so the kids open the box, and blue balloons are flying to the air. And they're like, are we getting a puppy? Are we getting a puppy? Like, they were so confused. Like, and then by one child, I don't remember which child, but they're like, Mom, are you having a baby? Are we having a baby? I'm like, yeah, actually we are. You're pregnant, Mom? Actually, no, I'm not pregnant.
Wow.
We're like, actually, that's, sorry, I don't know why I'm getting emotional about this, but I'm like, actually, that's why Hallie's here and Sasha's here. Actually, Hallie's pregnant, and she's asked us if we would adopt this baby. And it was just this beautiful thing that we got to share with her, right? With our kids. Like, so we've just always been very, inclusive. Like, everybody needs to like be involved in this, and have it be open, right? We're not there's no surprises. So
what a powerful thing
it was.
to do.
It really was. And it was
for Hallie
like,
to see your kids loving the fact they're going to have a little baby
and they
brother.
were so excited.
And the excitement, it must just have reassured her 1,000% that this was the right thing to do.
Think about it. She's a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I mean, think about your maturity. Like, I already think this girl is mature beyond her years, because how at 17 do you make that decision and be completely confident in it that you're not ready to be a mom and you want this baby to have this family and have a mom
also
and dad.
to identify who you want the parents to be. It's
so to me, I'm in awe of her that she can do that she could do that. Cause I think, my 17-year-old self, I couldn't have done that. Like, I was so immature. I mean, I was still immature at 21. Like, that's why I didn't get married till I was 28 and have kids till I was 30. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I just wasn't ready for that. And she was, and she, especially after all she had gone through leading up to that. I mean, this poor girl has been through a lot, like, truly. And then to come to that decision that she knew and was the right decision for her was pretty amazing. So anyway, so it was this beautiful thing that now my kid, and so this is August, the baby's due in November, right? So we just have a few months to, and I actually, this is a funny story I have to go back to. So the day she told us, Bracken and I were building this house, getting ready to build this house, right? So I'm trying to sell my Orem house. I'm getting a yard sale ready. Well, I'd been saving all my baby stuff because I still, after Lincoln thinking, but we'd finally come to that decision that, you know what, we're letting go. We know we're good with our 3 babies. It's time to get rid of everything. And since I had a boy, I'm getting rid of all my baby boy clothes, all of my baby everything. And Hallie came and helped me. She's like, hey, I'll come help you get ready for the yard sale. I didn't know she was pregnant yet, right? This was like 2 weeks before she told us. She helps me organize all the baby stuff, all my baby cute boy clothes. And she's holding them up, looking at, knowing she's pregnant, right? Watching me get rid of everything. Helped me with the yard sale the next day. Didn't say a thing. So the day she tells me 2 weeks later, I'm like, Hallie, you knew I was a boy. You knew and you watched me. She goes, I know. She's like, I'm sorry.
She's actually the one buying it all.
Right.
Putting it to one side.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then giving it back.
I'll save this. But she's like, I just couldn't tell you. I wanted to, and I just couldn't. I'm like, and I respected that. I'm like, okay. So she was super cute. She actually threw me a baby shower. At 8 months pregnant.
Really?
She organized the whole thing and threw me this giant baby shower for this. Here's this pregnant, again, her maturity, right? Like
that is beautiful.
17, she's throwing me a baby shower for the baby she's giving me. I mean, what a blessing that is, right? I mean, that's incredible. It's just, sorry, I get so emotional about it.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing that she was able to do that. And so anyway, so fast forward, now we're getting ready. We're now getting a baby room. We're rebuying everything, right? Setting up crib. Actually, we hadn't even had the crib. And she calls us and she's like, she goes, oh my gosh, it's 3 weeks early. She's like, oh my gosh, I think my water broke. I'm heading to the hospital at 3 a.m. I'm like, Bracken, you haven't even put the crib together. So literally, like I go to the hospital. He stays because we still have our 3 other children, right? Yeah. And so he stays at the middle of the night. He stays home with the kids. I head to the hospital to just be there in case this baby comes, and he's putting a crib together in the middle of the night. We call him. We're like, okay, he got the kids off to school, whatever. He's like, I said, it's time. You should come. The baby hasn't come yet, but you should come. And so he got there, and we have pictures of us sitting in the hallway. I mean, we weren't in the room. We were very respectful of that. And I think it was also her mom was in there with her. And I also think it was a beautiful thing for her to have her mom. And for them, because I mean, even though she had made this decision, I also knew this was a loss for them too. Yeah. Because Sasha was going from being grandma to this child to now just being Aunt Sasha. Yeah. And we wanted to be respectful of that and let them have that time. And so she delivered it with her mom in the room. And then after that, I mean, she held him and she got to do her thing. And then after that, they called us right in and we got to hold him immediately. And it was a beautiful thing. But
did you name the baby?
We did. Okay. Yeah, we named him, and we had been talking about the names, and and Hallie, we would tell her names. Like she didn't. I mean, we'd just tell her we were thinking of this, we're thinking of that. But ultimately, it was us and our kids, like our family, our little family. Did name him. So
what's number 4 called?
So his name is Hayes Bracken Hudson. Hayes, yes. And I
love that. And how old is Hayes now?
He turns 5 next month.
Wow.
And he is a hoot. He is. It is so amazing. I have the sweetest, tender pictures of my children because as soon as the baby got here, we went and got them checked out of school, and they came right to the hospital, and every single one of them are holding him and just bawling and just loving on him. And this is their new baby brother. And it is just the most beautiful thing for our family, like just what he's created. And not just for our little family, for extended family, for my side of the family, for Bracken's side of the family. Mm-hmm. What this child has brought to everyone is just the most beautiful thing. Children just bring the most beautiful joy and love and happiness. It's incredible what a baby and a child can do for a family, truly. Yeah. And so it was beautiful. So I mean, my children just love on him. My oldest, I mean, it's been a beautiful thing because I said for the first 2 years of having him, I mean, I was 41 when we got him. So that's a whole nother thing, right? Like I had just gotten Lincoln into 1st grade and I was like freedom, right? Like I now have all my kids in school. I do work. And so it was just like, but I had some extra time to myself. And now I'm like, now we're bringing this baby home. Now I've completely started over. I'm
back
like,
to
okay,
diapers again.
Okay, I was going to do some classes and do some courses I'd always wanted to do. I'm like, okay, we'll put those hold on for another 6 years until we get Hayes in kindergarten or in 1st grade. And that was okay. I mean, it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie. Having a newborn at 41 is hard. Yeah. Like Bracken and I went from getting sleep to going back to no sleep. And and you're older. And so there's all those little dynamics that come with that too. But we wouldn't change it for anything. You know, the sacrifice has been worth it. He has just been the added piece or that missing piece to make our family complete. We have our 2 girls, our 2 boys. It's a beautiful dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a, you know, and it's a beautiful thing because grandparents and, you know, aunts and uncles and Hallie. So our beautiful niece Hallie is a big part of his life, right?
I was going to ask that. What's the dynamic now with his
very
Hallie?
close. I mean, you know, my kids all call her cousin Hallie, the older kids. She's always been close with my 3 older kids. So it's been no different. It hasn't been, I mean, Hayes doesn't know anything yet. He's starting to ask questions and he's starting to ask, you know, this and that, or, you know, he's got these beautiful hazel brown eyes. Well, we all have very blue eyes. And so he has Hallie's eyes. He's got her perfect, beautiful eyes, right? And he does look like her. So he starts saying, well, how come I have these eyes and you guys all have blue eyes, you know? And so it's starting to so when we feel like it's right, we'll tell him and it'll be natural and, you know, we'll do that. We'll have that conversation, but it hasn't come up yet. But he's very close to Hallie. He loves her very much. I'm sure when it all comes out, he'll be like, oh, like, you know, it's a beautiful thing. She's been a part of my life from day one. Like she's cousin Hallie. Yeah. She even lived with us for a short time because during COVID, like she lost her job and her roommates weren't being great. And so, and 2, I should tell you her beautiful story. She had this baby her senior year of high school. She, like I said, she was a cheerleader. She's a very smart girl. She had him in October because he came 3 weeks early. So he came in October. She went back to school January, but she kept up on her schooling. She graduated with her class. She went back to cheerleading. Unfortunately, the biological father did some not kind things and pretty much, that's not my kid. You are sleeping around, you know, and he was a boyfriend, very close. I mean, this kid would come have dinner at my house on the weekend. So he knows what he did was wrong. And I think he's like, you know, asked for forgiveness for that. And he's carried on with his life and we have no hard feelings, right? Like it's unfortunate. I mean, it's sad because he's missing out on the most incredible little boy in the world. Like that's his deal and he's going to have to face that. Right. And that's his thing to face. But, and that's sad. But Hallie has a great relationship with Hayes and loves him and he loves her and everybody gets to watch him. He gets to stay in the family and be a part of this family that loves him and loved him already. So how does
as time has gone on, Bracken's sister, how is the dynamic? Like you said, she's gone from being a grandmother for those moments when the baby was born. She went from grandmother to aunt again. Is there
it's been hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things there that it's been hard, but she's been good. I mean,
because she really did have her family rocked.
She did.
Losing her husband, 17-year-old daughter getting pregnant,
and now her grandchild,
now losing her grandchild. There's a lot of things in that lady's life that has gone on,
and it has been, and it's been hard. And I try to be so understanding of that because I try and put myself in her shoes and how hard that would be. But their life was so messed up, and she'd be the first to tell you there was no way she could raise this baby, right? Because her and I are the same age, right? Like she could have taken, you know, Hallie could have said, "Mom, help me raise this baby," but they knew that where their world was, there was no way, and I respect that. I respect that they had enough love and care and understanding that they knew that they couldn't take that on. And that they allowed us, and that Hallie allowed us to do that, right? And but it, you know, I think it's all working. It's all working. We had to have boundaries and things like that because sometimes it gets a little hard. Like I think, you know, sometimes other people want to, you know, tell us how to raise him or how to do this, but you know, I think we're doing the best we can. I think we try to be good parents, and that kid is loved beyond loved. I mean, he is like
if he's in the family with you and Bracken, there's no way around not being loved.
I mean, my bigger kids, like I say, my 2 years of raising him, I couldn't have done without my oldest daughter. She just like stepped in, and it was fun to see that dynamic of her just stepping into like this little mommy role.
Yeah.
She's like, "Mom, I'm going to bathe him. Mom, I'm going to feed him. Mom, I'm going to get him dressed for the day." I'm like, "Great." Like,
how old is your eldest?
She'll be 16. Well, at the time, oh my gosh.
So she was
like 11.
So that's the perfect age. They just want to love on the baby and do everything.
They do. And
so honestly, it was a little easier for you and Bracken.
It was because I had so much help, and I literally could not have done it without my older kids. I mean, they have been so great and just so accepting, right? Like it wasn't even like a question that we're going to take this baby or we're going to love this baby. I mean, so as a parent, I think it's beautiful to watch your children because you hope you're teaching them. You hope you're, teaching them to love and to have empathy and to care and to, be kind and things like, right. But when you see them actually do it, like, you're like, okay, I'm not screwing them up that bad, right? Like, okay, maybe they'll still need counseling because I was their parent one day. But right now in this moment, like they're stepping up to it. Like, okay, I'm doing something right. Right. Like, we've shown them love. They're showing love now to this baby. And it's just been this very natural, like he was supposed to be in our family. There's just no doubt in my mind that my body was broken. I couldn't carry him. I couldn't bring him here. And Hallie was so gracious to do that for me, even if it came in the weirdest way possible.
That is such a beautiful story.
So that's our story. It is beautiful. And he is the cutest, funniest. I have to tell you this. I was laughing the way here because, like I said, we're people of faith. We pray. We teach our children to pray, which I also think is a beautiful thing. He literally got scared in the middle. I'm a Halloween freak, and I do have a lot of Halloween decor. And I think he's getting a little terrified of some of my stuff. And he literally ended up in our bed at 5 o'clock this morning. I had a nightmare. And okay, come snuggle. Well, I fell back asleep, and a half hour I wake up to him literally sitting up in our bed saying a prayer so that he won't have bad dreams. And I'm like, you are the cutest. I was trying not to laugh because it was the cutest thing. I'm like, is he really sitting up right now saying a prayer at 5:30 in the morning to not have a bad dream? And it just was like, Bracken and I were both trying not to laugh because, and I have to tell you, I'm not a morning person. So wake me up, I'm a grouch. But it was the cutest, most beautiful thing. This little boy has just rocked our world in the best way possible, right?
I love that.
So,
and you know what? I'm actually coming into this. I was a little saddened that I didn't know your guys' story because Bracken and I, we're part of We Are the Day. We've known each other for 18 months. I love Bracken to my core. He's one of the most beautiful human beings on the planet. Very giving. He just loves everybody equally.
He does.
And we were talking about this before. Like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like Bracken has never or maybe he has and I just haven't heard.
Right.
He's never shared that story.
Yeah.
He's never shared he has an adopted child.
Right.
Just like I don't overly share that my daughters are my stepkids. They're my kids, right?
Right, because they're your kids.
They're just your kids. Yeah. And so I didn't know any of this. And I honestly think it's me not knowing it has actually made it more beautiful for me.
Oh God, I'm glad.
Because sitting here and listening to you and seeing the excitement and the love and the energy has actually made this 1,000 times more impactful for me than if I'd have known the story coming into this.
Right.
It's just every part of it. And as you're telling your story, I'm like, there's just light bulbs going off in my head. I'm like, well, you were never meant to have a fourth child. You were being held back. For your niece.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then he said, she was like our first child. We practiced being parents with her. I'm like, oh my God, this came full circle.
It totally did.
It absolutely came full circle. So I'm just flabbergasted at the story. I think it just shows the sentiment of who you and Bracken are at your core for, stepping into a parenting role at the age of 41, which isn't easy.
Right.
You have a 5-year-old now that just woke you up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Right. You're 46 years old, girl.
Right, exactly.
Nobody needs that shit at 46.
No, we don't.
Right?
I need my sleep.
You need your sleep. But to do that, I think is beautiful. To blend that in with the kids that you already have, to allow the biological mother to, Hallie, to still be a very active part of the child's life. I think that is just an amazing testament to who you and Bracken are.
Oh,
I really do. What are some of the, because I'm hoping, and I know there will be people listening out there that have gone through adoption, have either given up children or are planning to adopt because they can't have children.
Right.
What are some of the struggles that you and Bracken have had in the adoption process, even though it's from a family member, but in the adoption process, getting your head, what's some of the things that you've struggled with?
Well, I think ours is very unique because, I talk to people all day long and I know people have really struggled with adoption. They don't know where this baby's coming from. They spend a lot of money. We didn't have to do any of that. So really ours was easy that way. But there has been some hard things with as far as like the dynamics of family, right? Like, cause that is not an easy thing, right? But we've worked through it. We've set boundaries, we've done things, but I just think that, so I feel like ours has been easy. I mean, really, she was there. I was thinking about this on the way here. I mean, it's not normal for you to go and adopt a child and have the biological parent in the courtroom with you, right? Like, it was a happy occasion. Like, the whole family was there. She was there with us, sitting with us, and, taking pictures with us after with him on his adoption day, right? Like, and so ours is really unique. But I feel like, and we had talked about when we lost like the second baby, we're like, you know what, maybe we should start thinking about adoption back then. Right. And so we were starting to think about that process. And, we thought about, we had a friend that had gone to Haiti, and we're like, maybe we could get a baby in Haiti, and because we knew there was a need. And so we actually started kind of looking into that. And oh my gosh, that was stressful and overwhelming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how people do this. This is like so hard and so emotional. And like, what if we don't even get the baby? And then, all these things. And we don't know, what's this baby going to come with? Mm-hmm. We knew Hallie was very healthy. We knew she wasn't drinking, doing drugs. She took care of herself. We knew we were really ultimately, unless there was just reasons to not be healthy. She was healthy, and she was going to make sure our baby was healthy. So he doesn't have all those, he doesn't have issues, I think there's so many beautiful babies out there that come with so many problems because of things that their parents were doing, or abuse, or things like that. We got this baby at birth. He came home with us. Like, I brought him home from the hospital. Like, and so I feel like really we've been so lucky, and I know it's not that way for everybody, but if I could tell anybody anything, adoption is the most beautiful thing in the world. And it doesn't matter. Like, I have biological children, and then we have Hayes that I didn't give birth to him, but there is no different in my heart whether I gave birth to this kid or I didn't. Like, he is my baby. The love is no different. So, I know I hear people say, I just want to have my own baby. And I understand that, because I do. I felt that too, right? When I was losing babies, like, I just thought, am I ever going to get to be a mom? Am I ever going to get to feel this child inside of me? And there is something to that, but I'm telling you, that is not the only way. Like, if you want a child that bad and you cannot physically have a child, adoption is the most beautiful thing, because you learn how your heart can expand like no other, right? Like, you're going to love your own child, right? You've given birth to this child. You felt this child in you. You're going to, there's just no doubt you're going to love this child. You created this child. You built, made this child, whatever. But when your heart can expand to love a child that you did not give birth to, that is a beautiful thing. Yeah. That to me shows you the unconditional love, the infinite love that we all have, just like God has for us. Like, it is like a beautiful thing. And we all have that within us. You just have to find it. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even know those don't. You are such a beautiful father. When I see you doing things, I'm like, I'm still just floored that is your situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's how beautiful it is. This heart is so expandable for everyone. Like, we can just love so much. Like, so I don't know. I just think,
like you said, it's nurture versus nature.
Yeah, it totally is.
It doesn't need to be biological. They're yours. It doesn't. You love them unconditionally.
You do.
They will pick up your temperament, your sense of humor, your energy. They become mini versions of you.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you've had them biologically or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so funny. You mentioned the girls. I get it a lot where the kids are like, "Oh my God, doesn't Lily look like you?"
Yeah, I think they do.
Like, and I used to joke around. I'm like, "Wow, I don't see how she could. She's my stepdaughter." And now I just literally tell her, "Oh yeah, absolutely."
Right.
We have random people like, "Oh my God, your daughter looks just like you."
I think so too.
And I'm like, "Yeah, thank goodness."
Right.
At least it's not the postman's.
I know. Right.
But it's all about the nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
So I think what you've done is absolutely beautiful.
Well, thank you.
I'm very glad that you have been willing enough and to open and share, and thank you to Hallie and her mom for allowing you to share the story in the depth that you have. I know it's not easy,
right.
Especially with the the other circumstances of the brother-in-law as well. So,
well, I think people need to know that too, and that's kind of what they share too, is how the dangers of the pornography and the child pornography. I mean, just where that took their family, right? Like, I mean, it's just, you just have to be careful, and they were good about being okay with me sharing that, and I'm grateful for that. So
yeah, absolutely, because that is a big part of the story.
Right.
If you miss that bit out, then it leads into, well, why didn't the parents take this on? And da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
What were the parents doing for this 17-year-old? Like, why is she off having sex? Why weren't they?
Right.
There's a lot more to it.
That. Yeah. Right. And people need to understand that.
Absolutely.
But I also think that, Bracken and I are able to do this because of our relationship too. Like, we have a beautiful relationship and there's so much love there. Right. And so I think it was just like this natural thing for both of us. Like, we love being parents. We love our children, and taking one more in, like, is just not a big deal for us. I mean, and I think it's a credit to who we are as a couple as well. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm grateful for the beautiful relationship that Bracken and I have with each other too. And that's
all because of marriage counseling.
All because of marriage counseling before we got married.
Look at that.
Everybody do it. I'm telling you.
Look what you can get if you do it the right way around.
Do it right.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Me.
Again, this has been a true blessing to hear this story.
Thank you.
It only elevates both you and Bracken, in my opinion, even higher than I already thought of you. You both are absolute angels to do this and to take this on. It's absolutely beautiful. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me share our story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Bear Den podcast. Please click subscribe and get the updates for our new episodes. And if you feel the need to reach out, you can reach me on Instagram @TheBritBear.